Hello from a reasonably sunny Spain, and welcome to my latest video. This is stage 2 of my trip through Spain. I started off in Casteldans and headed to the mountains north of Madrid, which are not the Sierra Nevada, which I thought they were. I've learnt since then, but apologies for saying that several times. Anyway, enjoy the video. Well, that was a quiet night. One other camper van when I arrived, and 2 arrived after I did. It was peaceful and quiet. One German, one Spanish. I don't know. One's already left early. Now I'm continuing on my way. Not a cloud in the sky. It's only 8 degrees at the moment. It's cold, but it looks like it's going to be a nice day. It's very dry, and then there's these towns, big villages. I presume they're mainly agricultural, because all there are is olive groves in this area. I see very few other types of crop. Very arid. Well, a bit of a slight problem. The main road that I was on is closed, and there's no sign of a diversion anywhere. I'll see if I can get through this village, but it looks... Well, I've just been trying to negotiate tiny little alleys, which is quite scary. I think this must be the old main road, so maybe this will be a bit wider and I can get through. But there's no signs, no direction, not deviation, diversion. So I'll just have to trust this road is larger, as it looks like the old main road. I think so. I think I may have managed to avoid the roadworks this way. Would have been nice if they had a sign though, so you didn't have to navigate your way around this village. Maybe it's not a thing in Spain. My first trip to Spain was relatively recent, so I don't know whether these yellow lines in France, it used to be that all the white lines, as they are now, were yellow, and they just roll out the yellow paint now when there's roadworks. I don't know whether the same applies in Spain, because this yellow looks quite old. However, it also is an area of roadworks, so maybe it's exactly the same as it was in France. I've also noticed websites here, Finnish.cat for Catalonia. There's a very strong independence movement in Catalonia, and a lot of the road signs are closer to French than they are to Spanish, Castilian, because I believe Catalonian is closer to French. just stopped here to plan my route because I noticed on the sat-nav it looked like it was going to take me a long way round, which I don't really want to do, just to avoid motorways, because I also want to avoid motorways. This way, I think. This is another popular spot. There's quite a few campers here at the moment, and I suppose there would have been last night. Anyway, I rejoin the road and I'm heading towards Alcaniz. This is a town called Casp, possibly Caspa, not sure. Not sure how you pronounce it. That's quite a big town. Considering I've not seen really a house for the last 20-30 kilometres. Not a farmhouse, nothing. Plenty of olive groves. Just pulled off the road for a coffee, and this is the sort of terrain I'm travelling through. It's not all quite as featureless as this bit. This place looks quite scenic. I think it's Montalban, I think. Castle ruins and settlements up the top there. Angle up a little bit. Lots of ruins here as well. Quite high up, 830 odd metres. A lot and then climbed up again. work out what these people who live here do, because there's just not a lot surrounding it. There's no industry here that I've seen, and there's no one in the countryside. Lunch, and I kept the fly screen closed. You might be able to see why. The windscreen's covered in flies. Some of them got in, of course, every time I open the door. So now the next few minutes of driving is going to be trying to get rid of them all. It was quite a nice picnic area, close to a road, but the road's really quiet. And now I'll continue on my way. And now I will continue on my way southwest. I'm heading towards Madrid, but I won't be going into it by any means. I think I'll be going to the north of it. France, you see a main road and there's no traffic on it. This is the N211, which I assume from the signs seem to be a national road. I don't know how many of them are in Spain. There, as you see, I'm heading for Camin Real, whatever that means, Royal something or other. Possibly Royal Camino, so maybe Royal Road. The spaghetti westerns were shot in Italy rather than in Spain, but is this sort of landscape you can imagine? I'm almost at the top of this climb. It's going to be about 1250 meters up. And to my left I can see nothing but open sort of prairie type land, no buildings, roads. Is this the Col? Maybe. We're still climbing, or maybe this is the Col. I think you can see though how It says there's a roundabout in 107 kilometres. Not a motorway or anything, just purely on a mainish road. I can't think cycling in Spain would be particularly interesting, at least not on the main roads, or even on a motorbike really, or a 2CV. I've still got 100 kilometres before a roundabout. I assume the road isn't going to be dead straight for that time, although it might be because I'm heading towards Madrid at the moment, so maybe it's been constructed like that. speak Castilian, which is what other people call Spanish, I assume. I'm 230 some kilometres from Madrid, so that makes sense, I think. I don't really know how administratively Spain is structured. Obviously I understand the English structure and the French, but I'm not really sure what is a province and what's what. But anyway, I mean, I think Castile now. I've been driving through this plateau, this deserted plateau, for about the last 20 kilometres, and then you come across a village sort of like this. Now, I haven't seen any farms, so maybe everyone that tills the fields actually lives in the village and then drives out to the fields. But how did that work in medieval times? I can understand now with motorised tractors, but as I say, I don't really understand Spain at all. I could look it up on the internet, but where's the fun in that? So I get some enjoyment, if you like, interest anyway, in trying to work it out as I go. We're not going to go through, this place is bypassed. And you can see it on the left, a fairly small village. Yeah, where people who live here must work on the land all around. As I say, I haven't seen any farms in the countryside. Yet there's lots of fields are tilled, ploughed and harrowed and so on, waiting for crops, or maybe they've been sown as well. But it's a mystery to me. It doesn't work in the same way as France does. I'll have to stop saying that. As I think I've said before, I'm travelling on my own, I live on my own, I do nearly everything on my own, which means the GoPro tends to be my sounding board, listening board I suppose, because it doesn't actually ever talk back, and I'd be a bit worried if it did. Here we are, back out in the countryside again. This, it says so here, Molina de Aragon, but we've left Aragon, and Molina I think means mill. Oh, I don't know. No idea. On the right is a castle on the hill, quite a big castle. And the town I assume is to the left. Monastery off to the right, perhaps. Looks occupied. You should be able to see it. Look at that. That's quite a statement on top of the hill, isn't it? Just be a monastery, it must have it. This is quite unusual. Trees bringing some other sorts of colour. There must be other parts of Spain like this, but this is the first little patch I think I've seen for maybe all day. Wow, that on the right. Gaudi style building. I get towards Madrid. So Castile is not as dry as Aragon or Catalonia. It still seems at the moment just as deserted, but it's slightly more green, slightly more wooded. Here's a contrast. Dropping now for the first time in hours. I'm under 1,000 meters high. It's 18 degrees at the moment and it's just gone 4:10. So a little bit under an hour I shall stop and try and find somewhere to sleep. I will unfortunately be relatively close to Madrid then. Not very, very close, but I'm skirting around the north of Madrid. So I just hope it's not more built up, because so far it's been quiet. There's been plenty of places where you could stop. It's a wee bit early for me to stop now. As you can see, there's still more trees around here. The landscape is definitely changing. The evening light is nice, isn't it? It's another 10 minutes or so and I need to start looking for somewhere to stop. There's nowhere near as many, the looks of things, around here as there are in Catalonia, but given how sparsely populated everywhere is around here, I must be able to find something. Not quite so many little tracks showing up on the sat nav though. I'm sure something will crop up. I'll have a look at the map in a little while, but I think that might be the Sierra Nevada I'm looking at. It's sort of blocking my way at the moment, but I've turned off to try to find somewhere to sleep tonight. Well, the sign there says I'm in the community of Madrid. Still, I'm in the middle of nowhere, hopefully. Hopefully I can find somewhere down here, down by the river somewhere. And obviously I am getting close to Madrid. Well, that particular suggestion for park for night, I think I will reject. The road suddenly disappeared and there's very little place to turn around even. I managed it, and then there's nowhere really to park. So I will go back on this one and see if I can find, because this was the old road before they built that dam. So I'll see if I can find somewhere else. There's another 3 or 4 suggestions quite close to here, so I will keep on searching. I'm not sure if this is the place, but it's a little bit difficult to get here, but there is a hell of a view. So from out of sight of everyone else, I will stop here. Well, the view is a little bit different to last night. And here I am. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Join me again soon for the next instalment. Bye bye.